Okay, we got 12 minutes and 51 seconds on this one. Yeah, today I've been talking to a couple of people who are in their 60s and 70s, policymakers, lawyers, philosopher, bestsellers, all sorts of people. And the amount of like stupidity in people at the peak epitome of mount knowledge, mount expertise is like baffling to me. That sometimes I talk to like people who are the best of the best, and they start like praising me as if it's gonna give me the satisfaction of the resources they hold. And it just shows me that they should have some sense of legitimate kind of estimation of worth and value when they're praising, because they're not going around praising everyone. And so this cuts out a portion of people in their actual mind and in their own belief system. And what's fascinating to me that when if when a person who is policymaker, lawyer, one of the greatest like in the field they're actually like occupying, is praising someone at 26, the immediate signal for me is that, okay, what is the gap between their knowledge and their expertise and what they're seeing in me, uh, like in their mind? If the gap is as horrendous and as vast as actually just, okay, a junior with potential, they wouldn't be praising and they wouldn't be wasting their time, because these people are bombarded by similar juniors. And this only gives me the only model that actually makes sense, that the gap is not as wide as just like 30 years and some talent and some hardship and some perseverance added, then you may be equal the bestsellers, the director generals, and whatever. So the next stop is in my mental model is that, okay, if the gap is that close now, that I'm treating these people as peers, and instead of them getting defensive, they're welcoming that peership, then what the fuck were these people doing for 30 years? I sometimes talk to people who are like 50, 60, 70, and in their own expertise, I give them insights, not for my own ego, but just out of the fascination for the topic and the curiosity around it, that these people are baffled by it. These people who have had the tremendous resources, the tremendous opportunities, and the tremendous occupied kind of power places that have been stable for 30 years. And now, after 30 years, they cannot equal a 26 years old mind who just has access to the resources and the knowledge that he wants to understand and find, to synthesize it into a framework that they now are fascinated by. And this brings me back to the kind of the documentation phase of my life, that I need to make this video both for my Instagram and for YouTube. If not for the metrics and the algorithm or whatever bullshit the attention economy is rewarding these days, which is basically the performance of competence rather than actual competence, which is like very like extraordinary to me, because you're basically turning the same mechanic that mechanism that was in the 14th century, that whenever the clown was performing for the court and for the king, all eyes were on the clown, not the king. But after the ceremony ended, the clown would go to a pub, get drunk, and be miserable. But the king would go into his palace and enjoy his basically his authority. But now we're filling the cities with clowns because being a clown pays. Imagine you have a best position in a PhD in Europe. It pays you 30,000 a year. And imagine you have a 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. The least amount of a sponsorship deal you're gonna get at even 20,000 subscribers. I have my own other YouTube channels as well that I've seen a portion of this, even with the ads and the people who want to sponsor you, is that at 20,000 you get a sponsorship of 15 to 30,000 per one ad. Not ad, but like saying, okay, this is the earpod I got, or this is the whatever I got, or even games, playing this game, because 20,000 gets them more kind of exposure than the 15,000 or 30,000 they're gonna give you. And that can happen in 1 week, in the span of 10 minutes for one video. Why the fuck would you go actually do a PhD then? So the society and the attention economy is literally pushing people towards less of an expertise. Not that PhD is expertise, but just a simple sample of the whole situation going on. And you're pushing people to perform nothing because you're literally becoming a monkey that doesn't understand the product, doesn't need to understand the product, doesn't need to understand shit about anything. Like millions of people believe that choco milk comes from brown cows. That there was like a kind of survey going on for that. And what fascinates me the most is that now these boomers that are like 50 years old, 60, 70 years old, not only are eating 2 generations kind of reservoir of wealth, and they still are blaming people that you're not working hard enough. Like I remember I had this conversation with a Dutch woman in her 70s, and she literally said, oh, my back, life is so hard. And I said, like, bitch, at 70 years old, when your body is literally preparing to die since age 25, and drastically like going down the physical road, preparing you to decay and die, at 70 years old, you're saying life is hard? You cannot understand like hunger. You cannot understand anything because you have 7 layers of social welfare that actually pays you more than some jobs would for just your nationality, for being European. And that's just one layer of it. The other layer of it is I know a person who is 72 years old. He finished his kind of journalist studies at 20 years old, did 1 year of internship, and immediately got the job. And ever since he's been a journalist, he retired at 67 or 69 based on the Dutch pension, whatever thing. And the most amount he worked was 4 days a week in his most kind of cramped way of week of work for 5 hours a day. And in the last 10 to 20, not 20, like 15 years of his working was like 3 days a week for 5 hours for 3 to 5,000 euros, depending on the vacation, whatever, benefits and whatever. And these people who could afford having a full-fledged house to their name with 2 months of their salaries are blaming the generation of like people who are 20 years old now, 30 years old now, for being weak, for being like some of them dare to say stupid. Like imagine, I know like someone who doesn't understand English, doesn't understand Dutch, and is literally working in a Dutch municipality for 13 years, because 13 years ago it was the overabundance of resources in Europe that you could be from Somalia and you would come here because you had a body present in European soil. They saw it as their responsibility to actually give you disproportionately out of your actual worth measurement of any kind of value you could have added, job position, that after 13 years you still don't know the language, you still don't know English, which is fucking global language, and you still dare to call people that, okay, people are not trying enough. Dude, can you even go on another city and find your way in 5 meters without actually asking anyone, or going to even a vacation without having existential crisis? And these people are the ones who keep telling others that they're weak, they're they're soft, they don't have life skills. Like, I have this friend who is basically the best lawyer in the privacy space in entire Europe, and he keeps telling me people are equal, people are whatever, and he's a Spanish. Then he became one of the greatest lawyers and has advised like all governments, every government in the world regarding privacy. And he literally tells me at 60 something years old, people are equal. And I asked him a simple question. If people are equal, people have dignity, right? Dignity requires what? What dignity consists of? Food, shelter, and some level of actually self-fulfillment. There is 500 layers of actual food, depending on the price, and clothing, and house, and all of that. So where there's this minute, detailed hierarchy to everything associated with humans, how humans are equal? That's the problem.